Welcome to Excel Boats on the X Podcast, powered by Mud Buddy Motors.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
The only podcast to bring you insights on the world of hunting, fishing, and boating. With your host, J. Paul Jackson.
You don't say much, do you?
Now, load up and sight in. This is On the X.
Welcome to the Excel Boats on the X podcast, powered by Mud Buddy Motors. J. Paul Jackson here today with my co-host, and I've got three of them all coming to us from Utah today. We've got Dave Reynolds, Jeffrey Whitlock, and back with us again this week, Keith Mitchell. Guys, great to have y'all on here.
Hey, we're happy to be here.
Good to be here.
This is part 3, J. Paul. It's taken us 3 times to get through all of the stuff we want to get to, but hopefully three times the charm.
That's right, and that means we're part 3 with all the Excel guys and with our very, very special guest, Mr. Freddy King, coming to us from Arkansas. What's up, brother?
Oh, not much, guy. Just getting ready for this daggum storm is fixing to roll through here. It's supposed to jump anywhere between 3 and 15 inches, they say. So that's a pretty good.
Yeah, that is good news.
That's a pretty good sway right there, ain't it?
That'll help the teal season, huh?
Well, it should. It's going to set things right, most definitely. You know, last year we had a super dry early September all the way through September, and just wasn't anywhere for the birds to set. Now they're coming through, and we've already had quite a bit of rainfall in the last month or so. So this is just going to compound it and add to some habitat for the birds to step in.
Now, that much rain in September, what does that do for November? Is most of that gone by then?
Well, most of it will be gone by then, but what it will do is if we get a lot of rain up in the northern part of the state, in Table Rock Lake and further in those lakes up there, then what it'll do is it will raise the bar on just their level on those lakes, and they'll have to maintain a decent flow. Most years what happens is they bring it down below full elevation before duck season even gets here, and so they have no water let loose. Now there will be water let loose.
That's good news.
So, and for the fact that it's going to fill up all the sloughs, the backwaters, the old dry lake beds that are normally dry, they're going to have water. So it's not going to take near as much to make things look appealing to a duck passing overhead.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I'll tell you what, I've been looking at the radar all day long. Man, you talk about the Delta of Mississippi. They have been getting steady rains. Greenville and just north Belzona, that area where some of the best blue-winged teal hunting in the country is, they have been getting a steady rain and thunderstorms all day long today, and that's moving into southern and southeast Arkansas as well. So you're about to see it, Freddie. I mean, we're going to have water for teal season, whether we have it still for duck season or not.
It'd be nice if we could get some of that our way.
It's nice to get a freaking inch. That's probably more than we've had all year.
That's horrible. That's horrible.
I can think of plenty of off-color things I could say about that.
Yeah. No.
For once in my life, I'm going to use some restraint.
Remember, J. Paul, after last week, see, we're good. We had on the podcast last week, it was just J. Paul and I and 2 ladies. So we were completely equal last week. Let's keep that up. We're good. We're good.
2 ladies. That must have been a 2-hour podcast, huh?
Oh
my. I really am. I'm looking forward to season kicking in. I'm ready for a weather change, and I know the rest of you guys are as well.
I'm sweating right now. I'm just looking forward to some cool weather. Football, I watched a bunch of SEC football over the weekend. I was thinking, man, it's great that football season is here. Now I'm ready for the cool weather to go along with that.
I think we're all ready for that.
Yeah, we could use some of that for sure out here. It's been really hot, really dry all summer long. So yeah, we really appreciate a little bit of cool weather and a little bit of moisture.
The other cool thing about football season being here, that also means that my schedule is going to wind down just a little bit because, since we became the national boat sponsor of the Cabela's King Cat catfishing tournament trail, Man, I've been somewhere every single Saturday. Last Saturday, I was down in Memphis, Tennessee. We had our first and hopefully first annual Excel Boats Mississippi River Monsters warm-up event. Even out on the river, it was hot. I went out on the river for a little bit with our buddy Wade Mansfield from Big River Cats and Grizzly Jig Company. And, you know, if we weren't running 40 miles an hour, we were sweating. Of course, by the time this podcast airs, it'll be over with, but we've got this weekend on the 8th, a big one. Are you going to be there, Freddie, on Saturday?
You know, I'm going to try to make that. I've got it in my schedule to drive over. I've just got some major things that are really, really, really bouncing against me right now. One of them being how much flooding are we going to get?
Yeah, that's for sure. And, you know, most of it will be south of there, so it shouldn't. But the Mississippi River may hit on a rise. But if it does, watch out. Because if it hits a good slow rise, thanks to this, we're fixing to see some big, big fish caught down there. Last weekend's event was actually won by Randy Dodd, who is the brother of Excel Boats pro staffer Jeff Dodd. Randy or Cedric, Randy's partner in this, they normally one or the other fish with Jeff, but they were fishing together now. Randy is Jeff's brother, and Cedric, I would call him Jeff's son-in-law, but if you ask Jeff, he says that Cedric is his wife's son-in-law. So I'm not sure what that means, but, you know, we'll be giving away that beautiful black and green Stormcat 230 there. It's been parked at Mud Island all week, getting a lot of attention. And then finally on the 15th, we wrap it up with the big Cabela's King Cat Classic event. And they will be giving yet another Stormcat away there. So 2 weekends in a row, 2 Stormcat 230s will be given away. The one on the 8th at the MRM will be by drawing. But you got to enter the MRM or one of the warm-up events and fish the MRM to be eligible. And then the winner of the Classic, they win that Stormcat from the Cabela's King Cat Trail. And then maybe I can go fishing a little bit.
Maybe just in time for the cold weather.
It'll be hunting season by then.
For all of you out there listening, if you haven't had a chance to go online on the Facebook pages and see these boats that they're giving away, these new Stormcat boats are some of the prettiest boats out there. You mentioned the black and green one that we're giving away, or I guess at this point will have already been given away, but also that beautiful red and white boat that Jeff Dodd has is one of my favorite boats that I've seen. It is so pretty. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at those, it's a great boat, really great boat.
Yeah, and they performed. Jeff was getting 61 miles an hour out of his Stormcat 230 on Saturday. And that's pretty doggone impressive.
Yeah, that's where our customer, Anthony Adams, who also won a tournament 2 weeks ago, he's one of the first retail customers that received a Stormcat, and he was getting 60 miles an hour. He's very happy. That is a fast boat.
It is a fast boat. You know, in the same hull, for you guys that don't care for the Stormcat but might be looking for a center console, that is the exact same pad hull, acceleration pad that we have on our Bay Pro 230. Do you know, Dave, has anybody ran one with a 250 on it yet?
No, we're doing a performance test with Yamaha with a 250. And
a show?
I've not arranged that or got results yet with a 250.
Will it be a VMAX?
No, I think it's just a standard F250 LB or XB actually.
I want to be there that day with DJ, man.
Yeah.
I want to see what
Yeah.
I want to get in one with that Suzuki 250 SS on it.
Yeah. Well, our Shane Stokes, one of our reps, has 250.
SS on his?
Yep. XS. Yep. SS. Yep.
But now that's on a Stormcat, right?
That's on Stormcat. Actually, yep. It's at a dealer in Jefferson City, a new dealer in Jefferson City.
Wow.
That's a sweet boat. But anyway, so take a look at that because, I recommend it if you are interested in all of those boats. Check that one out. It's really awesome. But, J. Paul, we do have much more important things to discuss today. We've got all of the professionals. We've gathered them all together. We've managed to get this going 3 times. all of these people together. They're very busy, so we're lucky to have them. So we're going to move right into this because we're excited to have them. I promise to try and keep us on, on target as much as possible over this. So I want to dig right into some of the questions that I've wanted to discuss for a while. And the first one that I really want to get into and talk to everybody about is some of the etiquette of duck hunting. I think this is something, and we've touched on this earlier before, of how important it is to help this sport to grow and to make it accessible to everybody. But there are ways and things that we can all do to make it better for the new people and the professionals that have been doing it for many, many years. So I want to get into this, and I want to hear from Freddie first on this issue.
I can make it real short here. Pretty much in summary, it's just whack them and stack them.
All right. So this is what I'm talking about, Dave. This very issue is that you duck hunters, you old guys, I'm going to say it right here, you old guys, that's the theory, is the whack them and stack them. So how do we get beyond this?
Well, you just shoot him in the face.
Jay
My God, sort it out.
Shoot them in the face and kick them in the lip.
That's it. Shoot him in the lips.
Everybody loves killing ducks. Everybody loves, that's what duck hunting is. You want to go out there and kill ducks and stuff. But when it comes to etiquette, there's different. There's different. I'm gonna call them species of etiquette. But whether you're duck riding in a boat, actual duck hunting, whether you're at the ramp or even it goes all the way up to the way you portray yourself with others. At the local diner that you always have breakfast after a duck hunt. Every bit of that. We as sportsmen need to have better etiquette towards ourselves and the way we present ourselves to both hunters and non-hunters alike. But when it comes to etiquette out in the field towards our brethren duck hunters, there's a lot of things, a lot of things that all of us need to pay a lot more attention to. We don't, and it starts right there, right at the time we take off from the launch to go get our hole. Don't be racing. Don't be causing no great big wake and swamping somebody else's boat. Be courteous, and let somebody in front of you. That goes a long ways. I can't tell you how many times I've actually let somebody in front of me get to where I was going to be hunting and it be that person. And they say, hey, y'all come on and hunt with us. We only got 3 or 4 guys. We can handle another 3 or 4 more. And so, it starts right there. From the time you leave the ramp to the time you get back, if you've got a big group of ducks working and somebody shoots out there, and they've seen the ducks and they shoot a single coming in, you can't browbeat somebody for killing a duck that comes in. But, think about those other folks that are out there and you saw a big swing of ducks clearly working somebody else. Why not just sit back and see if they can't finish those birds? Etiquette goes a long ways, and we've done that before. Have 2 or 3 birds drop in and somebody a quarter mile, which 400 yards south of us or north of us or wherever, you can see a big volley of birds. Flock just making a circle, and when they swing past you, if they don't come to you and they're working that other group, don't shoot a single or a double, a couple birds that comes in. Let those other hunters try to finish those birds. That type of etiquette is what we need to have in the duck hunting world a lot more prevalent. It really needs to be.
In your experience, Freddie, what is the number one thing that a newer hunter, that you can tell a newer hunter is coming in, what are they doing wrong? Like, what's the etiquette that they're missing?
Oh, calling skills is probably the most obvious with a new hunter. Everybody wants to call, but it can be detrimental versus beneficial.
Right. I wouldn't actually call, calling skills etiquette, but
it could be if somebody's hunting close. It could be spooking birds.
Right.
Yeah, you tell that person, don't call. If you're not really an expert caller, you're in a crowded area, maybe leave the calling to somebody else.
Yeah, I mean I rank that right in there. You know, as far as finish those birds. Y'all sit back and be quiet while I call these ducks in. but the as far as younger hunters, the number one thing that I see that I would say that really that comes out most is the pure fact that a lot of them are impatient. They don't have any patience when out there. So that's from the time they get to the launch to the time the hunt's done. They're not patient. And where that falls into the etiquette realm of thing, I would say is they want to race to the boat hole. They're blowing at every single duck that comes by. They get bored and shoot, you know, some kind of crazy trash duck at the treetops, those sorts of things. And we just don't need that. With other people out there, you don't need that type of behavior. You know, enjoy the morning. Take your time getting out there. Work the birds, you know, and if it's a lackluster morning, you know, sit back. And I'm as impatient as anybody, but the main thing is just try to enjoy the hunt that you're dealt with that morning. Not every day is going to be a barn burner, and some days are just going to be horrible. But as far as duck hunting, killing, but none of them are horrible if you get to go. So just the pure fact that you're out there enjoying the great outdoors and what God's given us is enough to slow down and try to learn from every experience while you're out there. And calling, like David said, is one of them. You know, sit back and watch another group work some birds. Listen to how they're calling to them and how they're finishing them. I've done that before, especially when we couldn't get it done, and just sit back and listen and say, well, you know what? They're not calling on the corners. They're just being quiet, those sorts of things. So that alone, you know, you're going to educate yourself to what the birds might want that day. And if you're blowing your duck call and carrying on and not having any patience whatsoever, you're going to miss out on a lot of duck killing. I mean, that's just all there is to it.
Yeah, you know, another factor, Freddie, you don't see it as much hunting the timber as we do in the open marshes, but, you know, knowing the effective range of your shotgun, I mean, nothing could screw a hunt up a bit more than hunting down from somebody who's sky busting. I mean, shooting at virtually everything that flies over. And that's pretty common with new hunters. So they just, you know, don't know the range of a shotgun, you know, ends up with a lot of cripples, and nobody in the marsh has a good hunt if you got a sky buster or several out there in the marsh.
Or, you know, a situation I encountered just this past year. You know, we were hunting public land and down here below the house down at Tiger at WMA, and it was a fairly slow morning. We were killing a few ducks, and there were some kids. We'd seen them. We went past them when we came in. Their setup. When I say kids, these were young guys, late teens, maybe even 20. You know, but young guys, and they were there and they were having a good time, but they were, seemed like every time we got a duck working, there'd be just one or two shots that would go off from these guys and flare the birds. Well, finally, when I started to pull out a little bit early, headed back out, I stopped. And these guys were bored. They weren't killing any ducks, but there were a lot of crows in the bottom. It was a Saturday. It was during crow season. These guys, they'd killed 8 or 10 crows, you know, and they were just bored. They were having a good time shooting crows. But what they didn't realize at the time was that they were ruining the duck hunt for everybody around them, because every time they'd shoot, if you had a bird working, they were going to flare. And, you know, and I talked with them about it, and they were really embarrassed about it. I mean, I didn't jump on their case or anything like that. I'm just like, hey, guys, probably didn't think about it, and I know you were bored as hell. But, you know, there were a few times when we were calling working ducks and you shot a crow, and that ruined it for all of us. You know, wait and shoot the crows in the field when you get done. Don't do it down here just because they happen to be coming through the marsh. Some people just make mistakes because they don't know better. and it's up to us to educate them. And it has a whole lot, how we progress as hunters and how they feel about the sport and the other hunters has a lot to do with the way that you approach them in that correction as well. And hopefully I educated these guys and didn't just piss them off.
Well, J. Paul's 100% correct, and it's all about, in the end, it's all about education, and we all have to take the time and keep etiquette at the forefront of any type of education. Teaching first and foremost respect for our fellow waterfowlers, then respect for the waterfowl itself, and so on and so forth, to the grounds we're hunting, those sorts of things. But it's all boils down to education, because just like J. Paul's saying right here, these guys didn't know. They thought, man, we're having a great time, we're shooting some of these daggum long black bills right here, and to them, that was cool, but they never thought outside of their circle, and it was running it from everybody else. And, down in Arkansas, we call when people are just shooting random ducks that are out of range, those sort of things, we call those swing ducks, because 90% of the time, the issue in Arkansas is when you're hunting the timber, you're working a big group of ducks or a few ducks, what have you. And, one hole might be 200 or 300 yards from another. And those ducks do not want that other hole. These ducks are on top of the timber. They swing over the top of another hole. Well, 4 or 5 of those guns start blaring at them. And that's what we call shooting our swing ducks, or shooting swing ducks, period. And most time, if you're in the hole, they're our swing ducks. But anyway, with that, and that's just a horrible thing to do. And to me, that's probably one of the top things that duck hunters should never, ever, ever do, is tree topping ducks or shooting somebody's swing ducks. And a lot of people really don't even know that, just because they figure, well, it's in, it's short timber, it's within range and blah, blah, blah. But still, it boils down to etiquette. Have respect for the waterfowl finishing the bird and those hunters that the birds are actually working. And unless they're educated to that, they don't know any different. And like J. Paul says, it's all about education.
Oh yeah, and I think you can pretty much sum it up if you want to, in one word. If you want to talk about hunting etiquette, it all boils, or in one sentence, it all boils down to that old maxim: treat other people the way you want to be treated. And if most guys would do that, and that applies to all of life, not even duck hunting. But as I get older, the more and more that, rings true to me. And I realize that when the good Lord said that, he meant it. It's kind of, when in doubt, just treat the other guy the way you want to be treated, and you're going to be okay.
Well, that's it. 100%. Do unto others, you know what I mean? So it's just straight up, just do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. But anyway, going back to this etiquette thing, there's a lot more to it. Whether it's running, or, there's been a big upflux of, hoo-ha about shallow drive or surface drive motors here in Arkansas because of the noise. And that's because a lot of people running them at daylight, right, that first 30 minutes, trying to get to your hole. Get to the launch early enough to get to the hole, well before shooting light. That's a horrible thing to do, to be running your motor 5 minutes after legal shooting hours. That's a horrible thing to do. After the hunt, if it's 8:30, 9 o'clock and you're done, have the respect for your fellow waterfowlers to sit there, don't make a sound, talk to your buddies, y'all can carry on and those sort of things, and don't come out of there till 9:30, 10 o'clock. Let everybody else enjoy their hunts before you fire up and roll out of there. And if you do got to leave, do it with some responsibility. Don't go blaring through the woods and up the rivers and creeks and the channels and what have you. Just take, go keep a decent speed at a low RPM to where you're not so loud. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've idled out of an area, and that BPSQ, when you're idling, you literally cannot hear that son of a gun 100 yards through the woods. Once the sun's up and the birds and stuff are going, yeah, you could hear it at, in the dark. But once, our hunt's done, you cannot hear it because it's got just that low frequency rumble to it, and it just blends in. And we'll just idle, a half, 3/4 mile out to the channel and float to wherever we need to be and stay out of everybody's way, because 90% of the time, where they're at, other folks are anyway. So try to keep from hampering their hunt and make sure that they have as good a quality hunt as you just had or you would want to have. And there's a lot of different things, calling it people swing ducks, those sorts of things, setting up too close to other people, not having respect to back off, and give them 200-300 yards. If you can see somebody else's spread, you're set too close to them. That's all there is to it. And in my opinion, you should never hunt within 300 yards of another group of hunters. And lots of things like that lead to better duck hunts for everybody. It really, really does. A lot of people want to set up close to a hole that's known to be good. That's the worst thing you can do. I mean, why sit there and watch somebody else actually shoot and possibly ruin their hunt, quacking at their ducks or shooting swing ducks like a lot of people do? Get completely out of the area, go find your own spot or find another spot and try to get maybe 1 or 2 groups in, and you're going to come out of the woods with more ducks and a quality hunt. Your hunt is going to be better. That's all there is to it. Yeah, you might have watched somebody else kill 48 ducks, but who cares about that? You want to put birds in your own boat. So, give those folks some room, get out of there, go find you a spot that's off the X somewhere and make do with the 1 or 2 or 3 groups that you're able to work. And heck, you might find that you're able to work them better because you're out away from those pressures. I've seen that many a time.
Keith, we haven't had a chance to hear from you. What are your thoughts on it? You're hunting mostly private lands. What are you finding?
I'm lucky. I get a hunt with Clint from work here, so it's private property. It's a club. So on a busy day, on a Saturday, there might be 4 or 5 groups out there in a 40 blind area. So we don't deal with much pressure or people sitting right up on top of you. I have hunted a little bit of public land, and it's really frustrating. Just listening to you guys, the stories are great. When we were the only ones on this little area, and these 2 guys come in, you hear this little slap, slap, slap. They've got this little boat with a trolling motor, and they pull up within 100 yards of us. And you're just looking at them like, are you kidding me? There's all of this room on this lake, and you pulled in within 100 yards of us. My friend, because I'm just starting to duck hunt. This will be, I think, year 5. So compared to you guys, I'm just a baby, and I'm learning a lot here. But my buddy, who's been hunting since he was a kid, just kind of went over and told him, hey, guys, you need to be where you can't see our spread. We can't see yours. So you can kindly move on or you're not going to shoot at anything. So they kindly packed up their stuff and they moved on, which it benefited both of us. They got to shoot, we got to shoot, versus somebody just being angry and sky busting everything that went by to prove a point to them. So it's just common sense. And I know some people have it and some don't, but I guess I'm just really lucky not to have to fight with it so much, So
Agreed. Dave, what are you seeing? What's some of your advice as far as etiquette, some of the problems that you see most frequently?
Well, like I commented, I think the knowing the effective range of your gun, not sky busting, would be probably the number one concern in the public marshes. And like you said, Freddie, not setting up downwind of somebody else. and pretty much poaching off of the birds they're working. I see that pretty commonly. If you're gonna set up anywhere near somebody, I mean, there's situations where you have no choice. You got to set up, opening day around here, busy weekends. You're going to have to set up fairly, within 100 yards of somebody out here. But if you do so, be considerate. Try to set up upwind. Try to set up in a place a little more concealed, that you don't affect each other's hunt or negatively affect each other's hunts. Those are the two biggest things I see in the public hunting areas. But everybody's out there to have a good time, have fun, have a successful hunt. I mean, we're all blood brothers, we got to get along, because we're as duck hunters are, hunters in general, we're a rare breed, and we have outside threats of anti-hunters, and we don't need to be fighting each other. That's it, I think it in a nutshell. Get along and have fun and be considerate. And
I think that sounds like really what it is both being considerate and being aware, knowing where you are, knowing who you're near, what your equipment is like, just having a full awareness of everything you're doing. I mean, it's a dangerous sport too. You're out there with guns in the water, potentially. I mean, there's a lot of dangers. So just being aware, keeping your head on your shoulders and being aware of what you're doing.
And man, you hit on something really good there too, because that's something that I think not enough kids get these days when they come into hunting, the young hunters. There are so many dangerous aspects to hunting that we just, old guys, like me and Dave, who've done this for 40 years, we kind of take it for granted. I mean, I don't think twice about breaking ice or about, getting out in my boat on the Mississippi River. But, duck hunting is an inherently dangerous sport. And it's funny because, we've talked about it on the podcast before. When I was a kid, I didn't think anything about riding in the back glass of the Buick either, with all the windows rolled up doing 75 down the interstate with my parents, my dad smoking a Marlboro and my mom smoking a Salem up in the front seat, no seat belts on whatsoever, or jumping in the back of a speeding pickup truck with 8 other kids down a gravel road, but today I'd kill one of my kids for that, and luckily, my kids, my daughters, when they get in the car, the very first thing they do is buckle their seatbelt. I did it for so many years without a seatbelt. Heck, they've still got to remind me, Dad, buckle up. And we've taught our kids, to wear their seatbelts, that smoking will kill you, that, speed kills. But a lot of the times we don't, when we come into duck hunting, properly introduce young people into, what could be a potentially dangerous situation. Hey, do you really want to go out on that ice without knowing how deep the water is under it? Or, proper, wearing you should always, a kid should always be wearing a life jacket in a vessel, no matter what. Wearing your kill switch, those kinds of things. I think as we bring youth into the sport, we need to take the same approach, to hunting safety as we have, safety in the car with seat belts or secondhand smoke or some of the other, things that we have ingrained in our kids that we sure as heck didn't do when we were kids.
Well, what J. Paul, is stating there is that's become so, we've heard it so much, those safety things, about secondhand smoke or smoking and seatbelt use and those sorts of things, that they're ingrained in us. And of course, those are laws and stuff that are passed, and we're first taught those from, our traffic, those that set the rules and those sorts of things. But those are put to us so much from every different angle that, they're ingrained in us now, and it's ingrained in our kids. So most kids don't smoke today. back when we were growing up, it was a cool thing to do. Now it's not a cool thing to do. So with that, and it's been thrown at us so much that us as adults now have adhered to that type of thinking, and we've educated our own kids to those things. Buckle up and get out of the back glass, like J. Paul was saying, those sorts of things. And we're not doing that in the world of hunting. We're not self, we may do it with our own kids a little bit, but we don't do it. There's a lot of kids that hunt without adults, and they know those that are driving, let's say, they're buckling up. They're not smoking because of what they've heard so much. Now that we have these kids that are hunting, and they don't have those guidelines, and that's where we have to step it up. Game and Fish commissions, and and a lot of the management, the people that oversee us hunters, they do, tout the word, but it's not loud enough. It's not on commercials. You don't see it, in your everyday life. So we need to, as responsible hunters, put that more out there. Put it in everybody's ear a lot more. Put it in front of them. Let them see you doing it. Those sort of things. So, and we have to regulate ourselves and educate ourselves, and those underneath us, above us, that's the only way.
One thing too with the younger hunters, I think in general, except for a lot of hunters from rural areas, they just aren't as savvy as the outdoors, on the outdoors, and dealing with the outdoors, certain situations, weather, conditions. J. Paul, I know, we were kids. There's no computer games. I got home from school. I'd grab my gun and my dog. I'd hunt every day, and I'd be outside every day till dark, and then I came home. I was outside all the time, and that just doesn't happen anymore. And consequently, a lot of these younger hunters just are not that savvy. They got to learn and be taught to respect the weather, the elements, dangerous situations, conditions.
So Dave, what is the most important thing that you are teaching your son? I know you've got a young son that you're teaching to hunt. What are you pushing for him safety wise and to learn and to be a part of this sport?
Well, I think gun handling is number one concern. Obviously, safety is number one. And I started both my kids when they were 10, and basically got them out shooting as much as possible. Not only to improve their shooting skills, but just their gun handling, being more familiar with their gun, being safer with their gun, handling their gun, shouldering their gun. That's just or more important than how well they could shoot. So, that's a number one concern is comfort with your gun and your equipment. That's probably
Can I ask
number
you a
one.
question, Dave?
Yeah.
Tell me, did you ever buy Jack a BB gun?
Oh yeah. He had Red Riders. Yep. So guns weren't new to him. I mean, he went hunting with me long before he was 10, and he'd have a little Red Rider and plink at my decoys and shoot the cattails and fill my boat up with cattail pollen and shit.
Hey man, that is the coolest though. I mean, and I think, of course, the people at Daisy should probably love us if they listen to this, but I think that everyone should start their kid out with a BB gun and start them out with it early and go out there with them. My daughters, all three of them had BB guns. They loved coming to the duck blind with their BB guns. All the decoys close to the blind had little bitty dents in them.
Oh yeah.
You'd hear a dink.
Yeah.
Where they would be shooting decoys and stuff. But, luckily those BB guns weren't powerful enough to put holes.
No, I agree. I think, and, at that age, 5-6-year-old, I mean, that's just as cool as having a shotgun, as taking a BB gun out and duck hunting, and can I try to shoot at that sitting duck, 200 yards away? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it, Jack.
I mean,
shoot him in the head. Yeah.
And what Dave has done with, of course, with his kids, my kids, your kids, J. Paul, they're lucky enough to have a solid mentorship. They understand first and foremost safety with no matter what kind of weapon or gun that's in front of them. They understand that. We teach them that. But there's so many kids today that, and it's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. But there's so many kids these days coming into our sport of hunting that are 16, 18, 20. You would not believe the messages that I bet you I've talked to 20 people this year that just started actually duck hunting that are 35 years old and older, probably 20, 25 people this year alone. Said, man, I'm new to the sport and this and that. I get a lot of questions. But there's a ton of kids as well, and most of them are getting into the sport because of a friend. And, hey, my buddy wants me to go duck hunting. And when you get two younger persons out there, you have a young person mentoring another young person, and that falls back to that patience thing. A lot of times things get a little bit lackluster, and you're, especially when you're a kid, you're looking for fun stuff to do. Well, shooting blackbirds and sparrows and those sorts of crows, sometimes those sorts of things start happening. But being the best thing we can do with kids like that is just say, hey, why don't y'all come hunt with us? If you see a group of 4 or 5 kids, man, just take them in the hole with you and show them how you're supposed to finish birds. Show them exactly, how to work ducks. Show them how to set up, and don't come over as a know-it-all. I have I do that. I get to talking so much a lot of times that I probably come over as a know-it-all, and I don't mean to be. I just try to educate as much as I can with the limited amount of time that I have with whoever's there with me, if I feel that they're new to the sport. But we've got to do that. I mean, that's all there is to it. We have to step it up and take under wing anybody that we see out there that might be having issues, and I'm going to make it a point this year. I'm going to do it at least 3 times. I've done promise myself. If I see a group of hunters, because it seems like every 18-year-old kid now has got a brand new truck and a brand new boat, and I'm gonna make sure that they get to come in the hole, hunt with us, and we make room and we show them, the best way to finish ducks and what actual finished ducks, how to work the birds, and just try to keep everything calm and collective and educate more than actually hunting. I think that'll go a long ways. It's a trickle-down effect, and it's going to take everybody, though.
Oh, no doubt. I agree with you. I mean, and I applaud you for that because, there's so much to be said for bringing people into this sport the right way and for continuing it along the way. And I think you're preparing them, definitely for the future when you do that. And speaking of, of that, I mean, I think we could just kind of make it the Freddy King challenge where all of us, commit that we're going to take somebody out there with us that we've never taken before that's fairly new to the sport, and, make it the Freddy King challenge for this season to do that. We'll come back to that. But
I love it. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, well, it was yours actually, Jeffrey. That's a good thing. I'm not going to steal
not to
it.
brag or anything, but
yeah, Jeffrey sent me a message and said, "What about the Freddy King challenge?" So, being the team player that I am, I'm who knows? Heck, it may be like it may go viral. Everybody doing the Freddy King challenge. Hey, I'm out here with little Johnny.
Well, I mean, and let me tell you, I've gotten to the hole before, and we have a light group, and some kids pull up, or even some young adults, and those would be your 22-year-olders and older in my book. But anyway, they show up, and we've had some awesome hunts that now those kids now are have kids of their own, and by gosh, there's some solid duck hunters, and these hunts happened, 10, 12 years ago, and it sparked a pretty a lifelong friendship. I may not see them a lot during the spring and summer and fall months, but you can bet you I'll see those boys again during duck season somewhere. And, we always have that connection, man. We shared a great hunt, and those are how strong friendships, and just the act of us doing that, I can already tell that we're both better people because of it, as far as making room for somebody else. And there's a lot of other ways, just, slowing down for somebody's decoys and, and skirting around. Or if you see somebody working a group of ducks and you're in the boat, shut that boat down and hit the edge of the river or the creek or wherever as fast as you can, so that you don't bother their hunt. Those sorts of things go a long, long ways.
Amen. Amen. Well, guys, we're about running out of time here. We've been going for a while on this. And, we talked about preparing guys for hunting. Let's change gears just a little bit. I want to wrap it up. But before I want to hear from each of you guys. What have you done so far? We're into September now, starting with you, Dave. What have you done to get prepared for this season?
Well, I've been skeet shooting a few times this summer. Probably going to go tomorrow night again. So shooting, get my dog in shape, fiddling around the decoys and the boat. I need to work on my trailer wiring because trailers are a son of a bitch. I hate them, man.
Tell us how you really feel.
My freaking trailer keeps on blowing my fuse, my tail light fuse. So I can have to rewire the whole damn thing probably, but just taking care of little things. I mean, it's hot here. We really can't get out to the marshes until weeks before the season, so can't really do a lot of quality scouting right now. So just getting myself, a dog, my boy ready, and shooting. And actually, I put my duck call in my truck today, so calling on the way to work and the way home from work with my Echo breaker.
There you go. That's what
put
I'm
in a
talking
calling about. CD or tape. There's some good ones. I know Echo has one. One of my favorites is Zink's Ducks Gone Wild. It's not necessarily an instructional tape, but it's just ducks making sounds and trying to duplicate their cadence and their chuckles. I mean, that goes a long way because I really don't need calling tips per se, but listening to live ducks will really help your calling skills. So starting to blow the duck call. Yeah, I get a few weird looks, but I don't have any options. I can't do it at home, so I got to do it in my truck.
Nothing wrong with that, dude.
I need to find that and take pictures of that and get those on the website, man.
I'm
want to see.
Here's a good story, but I'll make it short though. But one of our Browning reps, when I worked for Browning, he was going down the freeway and he was blowing on his goose call, one of those bigger flute calls. And he's practicing and this cop pulls him over. And he asked, what's wrong, officer? He said, this lady reported that you were smoking from a bong, suspicion you're doing drugs.
Some lady thought he had a fatty fired up.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then he was smoking his bong, listening to Duck Song.
That's what you like to do. You like to get high.
I think I once saw a Girls Gone Wild DVD in the front seat of Freddy's truck.
I wouldn't doubt it. For me, I guess things we're getting ready. Of course, we've had our opening morning dove season, and we always have a great big cookout. All the Echo guys show up, and we do a big cook. We literally we killed I think about 250, 60 birds opening morning dove season, and we cooked every single one of them and pretty much ate them all. We do a big deal, and that's kind of our kickoff. And as far as myself personally getting ready, I'm trying to finalize on a piece of property that for lease and get that done. And, of course, I've dusted off the duck calls, kind of kicked the decoys around, got a little bit of look at those. And not to mention, I'm getting with Dave here real quick and need to get that Pro Hull 1751 with that new mud motor, Mud Buddy on it, and a lot of things come around. So, and I've been kind of holding back a little bit, but what we're going to do this year, pretty doggone special, is Mud Buddy and Excel are going to get 6 to 10 episodes that you're only going to see on the Mud Buddy and Excel social medias. The Echo Boys doing their thing. So we're going to do 6 to 10 real solid hunts, quick clips and stuff that you're not going to see anywhere else. You won't see them on our DVDs. You won't see them on, unless I share them from the Excel pages, on any of our other pages until they go through Excel or Mud Buddy. So we got a lot of stuff planned, and I'm looking forward to it.
That sounds pretty doggone awesome, man. What about you, Keith? Are you just waiting on Clint to get all his shit together for you? You're not worried about
No. I am Clint's little best friend. We've been kicked out of the Hilton and into a different little clubhouse. So we had to do some remodeling to make the Mud Buddy and the boat, I'm not going to mention the name, to fit into this little bitty hole because it's too wide. So I've done a lot of preparing Clint's boat house to get the boat and the Mud Buddy in there, and then just tinkering around to get ready because he's promised that we're going to be doing a whole lot more hunting this year than last year. And I kind of keep reminding him, dude, man, I'm always on the phone. He's like, it's all right. It's okay. We'll be there by 10 o'clock in the morning and you can stay later.
Keith, I hope you don't have to get your feet muddy hunting that club, do you?
Oh, man.
Oh, Dave, every once in a while he pulls out the those marsh seats and the gun stands and that. But most of the time, thankfully, we're able to sit in the boat. And worst case scenario, that little mini 23, I might got to get out and spin it around so we can head in the right direction because we don't have the reverse. But you know what? I listen to you guys and all this call stuff. I've only had to call ducks in a couple times, and that happened last year because we were hunting out of the boat and we couldn't really conceal it enough. So Clint's like, I'm going to go move the boat. Well, they had dug around the dike so deep, I watched him take his first step, and the water was like a half inch below his wader line, and he stepped back real quick and just waved, "You're on your own." I'm like, I don't even know if I got a call in my box. I'm going through my box, and I found my trusty Echo call that Rick Dunn had given me, and I'm like, well, I've never blown it before. I shot 5 ducks, so I must have been doing something right. I don't.
Well, most of the time, all you got to do is just get that call out. Anytime you got an echo, and just kind of show it to them, and they just come.
That's true.
Show it to him. That must have been what it was, Freddie. There is no.
Just rub on it a little bit, and everything's gonna be all right. But just hold your hand.
I'm not going to touch that comment either. I'm not going to touch that one either.
I'm not either. I just
I'm sitting here through this entire podcast. I've been looking at this. Is that a new microphone between you and Dave Jeffrey?
Well, it is. I've had it for the last couple of weeks. It's nice.
This thing's amazing.
Wow. Listen, this is that, and that falls right into what I've done to prepare for duck season. Because as we know, I'm an amazing duck hunter. I'm not very lucky.
He has right there in the office.
He has some.
No, I've actually been preparing all the camera equipment. Like the other day, I took it all out, just like you would clean your guns. Took everything apart, cleaned it all down, make sure we've got everything we need. Been out buying new stuff, all new equipment, so we can, so I can shoot the birds the way I shoot the birds. So there we go. So I'm prepared. I'm prepared.
Jeffrey, I feel your pain.
So he's going to try to get out with Dave and record where Dave's honey hole is for us. So
Good luck with that. Don't tell him. Now he'll never take us out, man.
Yeah.
Can you do camera work blindfolded?
Yeah, exactly.
My question is, you're taking the camera, are you going to take the new microphone Steely Dan there with you?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Actually, he has a cool little one to plug into his little iPhone 8 that actually Works pretty
I
good.
do.
A little
No, I've got
external
some
mic.
really sweet
Yeah,
equipment.
he's ordering me one. Told me yesterday he was sending me one, but after seeing that looks like something out of a Walter Burroughs, now to Naked Lunch, Anyway, man, it's been great. This is always so much fun. I can't believe we've already done 3 of these, and I can't wait to do some more. Freddie, great having you, buddy.
Hey, it's been a blast as always.
Keith, great having you. And of course, Dave and Jeffrey, you guys are always a heck of a lot of fun, man. And I hope you guys have enjoyed recording this as much as I have.
I have, absolutely. This has
Oh,
been a
most
blast.
definitely.
Oh, yes. This gets me out of answering the phones, J. Paul. So this is
And I'm fixing
amazing.
to call you about a customer. But they're not complaining. But I am fixing to give you a call.
Oh, it's not one of your
It
good
is.
friends, is it? You know how many guys I get that say, hey, I'm a good friend of Freddie's or I'm a good friend of J. Paul's and you got to hook me up. And then I've talked to you, J. Paul, and a couple of times those guys, J. Paul's like, if that guy offered me a beer, I would just walk away from him. I'm like, well, I wouldn't consider him a friend then. But he acts like he's your best buddy.
Hey, I met a guy once that worked for a marine dealership at a boat ramp, and I swear he asked about being an Excel dealer, and I told him that was Dave's gig, but I wasn't going to be rude to anybody. And the next week, I hear that I've told him that, by golly, we're awarding them the next dealership in their area. They're ready to order the boat. You remember that day?
Yeah.
Yeah, if they say they're my good friend, please call me or Freddie to confirm. But this guy really is a good friend, and he already has one of our motors, so it's not a bad thing, Keith. I promise you that right off the bat. Man, guys, it's been a lot of fun. When you're watching or listening to the podcast, be sure go back. By the time this airs, we'll have given away that Storm Cat at the Mississippi River Monsters Tournament. You'll be able to check out giveaway. We'll do a Facebook Live on it. That'll still be up on our Facebook page. Go on our social media, check it out. And also be watching for the Echo Boys and Freddie. I think it's going to be some exciting stuff.
Oh, it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Yep.
I'll guarantee you.
Freddie, when is that going to launch? Do you have a date for us?
No, well, we got to go kill him first.
Yeah.
And
What are
speaking
you
of
waiting
etiquette,
for?
it's really rude to shoot them out of season. So
Sure.
Yeah.
we got to go shoot him first.
man, guys, it's been a lot of fun. And on behalf of Freddie, Keith, Jeffrey, and Dave, I want to thank everybody out there for taking the time to listen to this edition of the Excel Boats on the X podcast, powered by Mud Buddy Motors.